Recently, Elon Musk has taken aim at South Africa, more specifically the economic freedom fighters. Through many posts on X, Musk called for sanctions on South Africa, attacked the AFF, and called their law reform proposals racist. Now, before delving into Musk's actions, let's take a look at the history of South Africa. South Africa's apartheid regime was defined by a series of oppressive laws that systematically segregated the population and concentrated wealth and land in the hands of a white minority. Legislation such as the Native Land Act of 1913 and the Group Areas Act enforced racial segregation, dispossessing millions of black South Africans of their ancestral lands and economic opportunities. These laws laid the groundwork for decades of systemic inequality, with the legacy of apartheid continuing to affect the socio-economic landscape of South Africa long after the end of white minority rule in 1994. In response to this deep-seated injustice, the AFF emerged in 2013 with a mandate to transform the economic and social structures of the country. One of the party's flagship policies is land expropriation without compensation, a proposal aimed at redistributing land from the historically privileged white minority to the marginalized black majority. For the AFF, this policy is not merely an economic measure, but a symbolic act of justice intended to reverse the dispossession inflicted by apartheid laws. The party contends that the traditional willing buyer, willing seller model has failed to address the profound inequities left by the past, and that the swift, uncompensated expropriation is necessary to reclaim what was unjustly taken. Central to the AFF's struggle are protest chants such as Dubul Ibunu, which translates to shoot the boer. Originating in the context of anti-apartheid struggle, these chants were essentially expressions of resistance against an oppressive system. Musk, who grew up in apartheid-era South Africa, has repeatedly criticized these chants, arguing that they are outdated and dangerous in today's context. Musk's outspoken stance is part of a broader campaign against what he perceives as policies and rhetoric that favor state intervention over free market principles and property rights. Now, why is Musk focusing on South Africa when he already has so much on his plate? Under the current framework in South Africa, foreign companies in key sectors, especially telecommunications, must meet specific local ownership requirements. For example, companies like SpaceX's Starlink are required to have a portion of their equity, typically around 30%, held by historically disadvantaged black South Africans. This mandate is designed to address the deep economic inequities inherited from apartheid laws such as the Native Land Act I mentioned earlier. The AFF's reforms goes even further. With measures such as expropriation without compensation, the party aims to dismantle the structures of economic inequality established under apartheid. Their plan is not only to redistribute land to the historically marginalized black majority, but also to restructure the broader economic landscape so that key sectors benefit the people rather than a small privileged minority. This might include stricter local ownership requirements, additional taxation measures, or further restrictions designed to ensure that profit and assets contribute directly to the national transformation agenda, which is by all means a right for South Africans. Away from South Africa for a bit, reading all those posts about how a chant is genocidal and racist and how the laws are unfair was utterly appalling and outrageous. A striking double standard emerged when comparing Musk's criticism to the AFF with a relative silence on other things, such as the genocide in Gaza, where Musk was in fact outwardly supporting the Israeli occupation. This selective outrage is not new, and it certainly won't be the last. See, this is the word elite for you. They will wave the banner of justice only when their business and interests are affected. But when they are not, even if thousands of children were killed, it won't deter them.